Welcome back to Chinagrams Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video. And this week, wow, or last week, what a week it was. Oh my goodness, we got first the bad news. FFG finally comes forward and says, hey, you know how we said we might do that new set, that like one last set, and you all laughed at us and we're like, yeah, right, that won't happen. Well, it won't happen. So, sorry, there will be no Wild Horizons. We're done with Destiny. And anyone who knows anything about the Destiny community was like, no doy, I knew that was coming. Thanks for the news that wasn't news. But it was still a little bit of a sad day, right? It's kind of like that final last correspondence from FFG about Destiny. Not only is the game dead, we're not releasing any more content, period. Now, from a positive standpoint, this is great news for the many committees out there who are making cards, trying to extend the life of Destiny, because Wild Horizons was like this cloud that was hanging over them. Like, is all of our work for naught? Especially the ARH committee that's really been looking forward, right? Their first set was pretty muted. And what I mean by that is there weren't a ton of broken cards because they were specifically trying to look towards even what it will look like after the convergence cycle is gone and there's this new meta that evolves out of it. And I'm sure they were thinking, like, if Wild Horizons just drops, it's going to kind of decimate all the work we've done because it screws with all of the cards and how they interact with the meta. So that's good for them, or for all of these committees, that they don't have to worry about this now. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are rightly excited, like, oh my goodness, there is new content from FFG, can I see it? And then apparently a playtester or somebody leaked a full file of all of these cards from Wild Horizons. And so, like, right here, we have a Lucas Morris put this beautiful graphic together with some cards, some images, some dice, and it looks so compelling, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's new cards, there's new content. Wait, it's green? What? So that's the exciting part. And if you're super excited to play with these new cards, and you look through the file, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's so much amazing stuff here, I want to use it. Use it. Have a blast with it. That's great. But on the other hand, I do want to sort of caution the community. I've seen a lot of people out there saying things like, now these continuing committees have to include these cards in their work because they've been released, leaked, whatever word you want to use. And I want to provide some sort of cautionary information about this type of document. I've been a playtester on many games for many companies. I've signed a lot of NDAs, so I won't be talking about any one specific company's process. I'm more going to be talking sort of generally speaking. But the way these processes generally work is the file that was released is usually a pretty primitive file until the very end. For example, here's what it looks like. So let's go back to our first image. Oh, look how beautiful the Rancor look. That looks amazing. And you're like, oh, it's a real card. And then you see what was actually leaked, and it was this. This is not a real card, people. This is like a primitive version of a card. Who knows? Maybe this could have ended up being what the card would have looked like. But this isn't the card that was, or this is the card that's leaked, and this may not be anywhere close to what the final card is. And just so you know, this is not anything I did. I found this image on Facebook. I'm not like leaking anything. I'm not a leaker. I had no access to anything in like the last many sets. It's been a while since I was a playtester for anything for FFG. But the point is, you can tell from this is pretty primitive. From people I've talked to, it seemed like it was around a mid-cycle-ish draft, which, you know, the way companies often work is in playtesting, they do things like put in really pushed cards, really powerful cards, just to kind of see, like, what's the reaction of the playtest community going to be, knowing they're going to have to be dialed back, knowing they're going to have to figure out how those cards would situate in the meta, but trying out a bunch of cool new ideas. So I think if you look through this file and you've been like, oh my goodness, my head is exploding, there's so many cool things in here, Yeah, there probably are. The problem is a lot of them might not have actually made it into the set. Whole mechanics could get shelved for being too powerful, for being underdeveloped. For instance, this set has a new color, green. I'm quite confident it would have made it in because there are so many cards, but think about like this moving forward. If you only have one set with green cards in it, what does this even mean? Like, is this an indication that FFG's kind of jumped the shark and ran out of ideas and they were like, screw it, I guess we need a new color because we're out here. I don't know what green is supposed to tell us. I do know that FFG has sort of a track record of like doing crazy things at the end of their games. If you look at Game of Thrones 2.0, they just were like, here's a pack of completely broken things, and the community had to kind of go, okay, I guess we're going to ban the whole pack because it's absurd. It doesn't even fit with the game. So that's sort of my caution, is that I don't really know what to make of this file, and I think expecting continuing to committees to adopt what is essentially a rough draft of a set is really dicey. There's also like fake names in there. There's a guy named Frankenberry. That's obviously not a real card name, people. That means that's a placeholder name for some other card that we don't even know what it is. I mean, we can make guesses. It's also just a tough thing to figure out what exactly is going on with this set. There are some cool mechanics. So here's sort of my takeaways, is that there's some cool mechanics in the set. There are some 3 dice cards. I mean, there's a Yoda that is a bad dude, man. He's got 18 health. He's got 3 dice. I would love to have a Yoda that sort of defines the game, or could define the game, and I have no idea if this card would, but just its stats and numbers are at that level. There's another card in the set that grows, that each turn you get a new die for it. That's another awesome mechanic. So one of my takeaways is that I hope that any committee that's looking to continue to build Star Wars cards will sort of take some of the ideas from this set. Like, yeah, you can't probably take this set. Like, it's a real problem that I don't think a continuing committee could just be like, we're releasing Wild Horizons. Like, there's a decent chance FFG sues them. Can you just take someone else's work and release it as your own? I don't know. I don't know how much FFG even cares. But if they do, like, that's certainly a line I think that's being crossed. So I think the bottom line is, it looks like a neat set, but it also looks like the rough draft of a set. There seems to be some cards that are really pushed in it, which makes me worried. There's a new color, which makes me worried. Have they ran out of ideas? What do we do with a new color? And can any committee actually use this work and get away with it? I don't really think so. So I'm just hoping that people kind of recognize the set for what it is. That it's not a real set, that it is a rough draft. It is like almost a little window into what might have been had FFG decided to go all the way with the set and produce it and release it. Unfortunately, they are not, and that is, it's just bad news and a sad day for everyone. But the good news is, someone leaked it, and if you want to play it at your house, go for it. I imagine you will have a great time with a whole bunch of fun new mechanics and cards. But again, I don't think we can expect anyone to incorporate it into Destiny in any official way moving forward. Again, it's a rough draft. It's someone else's property, and I don't know. It seems to me like there's work that needs to be done, and I'm curious to hear what you all think about this set. I've seen some people online who really want this to be part of any committee's work. After hearing sort of my thoughts, where are you at? Are you still thinking like this has to be a part of it, or are you recognizing now that like this is what it is? It's a playtest version, a rough draft of a set that could have been. Frankenberry's not a real card. Who is Frankenberry? I don't know. All right. Well, hopefully my thoughts on Wild Horizons helped you. I know it's a sad day, an exciting day, sort of all rolled into one. And I'll talk to you next time on Tiny Grimes Games.